The year was 1947. At midnight, India was free. Ancient yet reborn, India faced a daunting question. How would it govern such vast diversity? The leaders needed a supreme law to define the nation's soul. For nearly 3 years, the finest minds debated and poured their dreams into a single document. They were building a fortress of rights, laying a foundation of justice, and creating a promise: equality, liberty, and fraternity for all. On January 26, 1950, the Constitution of India was adopted. India declared itself a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. The future was now in the hands of its citizens. It was designed to grow and adapt, a living, breathing entity. The leaders had given India a map for a better future. Now it was up to every citizen to walk the path. The Constitution was their guide. The future was theirs to shape. What is a constitution? Not just a book of laws, but a sacred contract between the people and the state. The state is the government, the police, the courts, every branch of authority. The Constitution lays down the rules, telling the state what it can and cannot do, protecting our freedom. It begins with the powerful words, "We, the people of India." Power flows from us. The Constitution is the ultimate boss. This is the rule of law, ensuring power is not misused. It gives us fundamental rights, our birthright. The Constitution also expects something from us, our duties. Rights without duties are incomplete. The Constitution is not just a document, it is a way of life. We, the people, must live it every day. In the village of Aryavata, a school teacher named Aman believed education was about opening minds, not just memorizing facts. His classroom was humble, but inside, the future of India was being shaped. Aman saw the Constitution as a living story, not just an exam subject. His students reflected India's diversity. Priya from a so-called lower caste, Samir the farmer's son, Fatima in her hijab. Aman had seen discrimination and injustice. He decided his mission was to arm his students with knowledge of their rights and responsibilities. He held up the Constitution and asked, "What is this book?" The students answered, "A rule book, a law book." Aman smiled. "It is our shield, it is our voice. It is the promise that this country belongs to you." He made the Constitution real, connecting every article to village life. Some villagers doubted him. Teach them math and science. But Aman was firm. He knew a good citizen must first be a good human being, and the blueprint was in the Constitution. His small school became a laboratory for democracy. Aman's lessons were not just about rights, but about building character. He taught that the Constitution was not distant. It was alive in their daily lives. The children learned that knowledge was their most powerful weapon. Aman's mission was clear: to create soldiers of the Constitution. His classroom was the front line in the fight for justice. Every lesson was a step toward a better India. The Constitution was not just a book, it was their future. Aman's calling was to make every child a guardian of that future. In Aryavata, the seeds of democracy were being sown. The journey had begun. The Constitution was coming to life. Aman's first lesson was about the idea of the state. He told his class, "Imagine a giant with many hands. The police, the government clerk, the panchayat, the electricity board, all are part of the state." Article 12 defines the state, the government and parliament of India, state governments, local authorities, and all bodies under government control. Why does this matter? Because our fundamental rights are protected against the actions of the state. Aman made it real. If the panchayat says only boys can use the library, is that allowed? Priya answered, "No, because the panchayat is part of the state." Exactly. The state cannot violate your right to equality. Article 12 is the key that unlocks your rights. It tells you who is accountable. The students saw the government not as distant, but as answerable to them. The police officer, the tax collector, the panchayat, they all must follow the Constitution. Aman's simple lesson planted the seed of awareness and accountability. The children began to understand the architecture of their democracy. The state was not above them. It was bound to serve them. Article 12 gave them the power to demand justice. The lesson was clear: know who holds power and know your rights. With the idea of the state clear, Aman moved to the heart of the Constitution: fundamental rights. When the village council reserved the community well for upper caste families, Aman taught Articles 14 and 15. Equality before law, no discrimination by the state. The students led a peaceful march, holding placards. Equality is our right. Article 14. The order was withdrawn. The well was opened to all. When a factory owner employed children, Aman explained Articles 23 and 24. No forced labor, no child labor in factories. The villagers filed a complaint. The children were rescued. When the government planned a highway through the village pasture, Aman taught Article 21. The right to life with dignity includes a clean environment and livelihood. The villagers protested peacefully, demanded a fair process, and their voices were heard. Aman's classroom became a place where rights were lived, not just learning. The Constitution was not just theory, it was action. The children became active citizens, not helpless subjects. Every lesson was a step toward justice. The village learned that knowledge of rights could change lives. The Constitution was their shield and their voice. Aman's teaching turned the village into a laboratory for democracy. The children learned to stand up for themselves and others. The Constitution was alive in every act of courage. The village was transformed by the power of knowledge. Rights were not just words, they were tools for change. Aman's classroom was the heart of a new India. Aman taught his students that India's strength lies in its diversity. He explained Articles 25 to 28, freedom of religion, and Articles 29 and 30, protection of culture and education for minorities. When a new rule ignored the tribal community's heritage, the elders turned to Aman. He taught about Article 32, the right to constitutional remedies, the heart and soul of the Constitution. With a young lawyer's help, the villagers filed a petition in the Supreme Court asking for respect for their culture. The court stayed the rule and ordered the government to consult the community. The villagers learned they were not powerless. They had a direct path to justice. The Constitution's ultimate shield protected their voice. Every voice mattered, every culture was valued. The children saw that rights are real only when enforced. The Constitution was not just a promise, it was a tool for action. Aman's lessons empowered the community to defend their dignity. The village learned that justice was within their reach. The Constitution protected the smallest voices. The people of Aryavata had used the law to protect their identity. Every citizen had the right to be heard. The Constitution was their guardian. After securing rights, Aman introduced the directive principles of state policy guiding stars for the government. These principles, though not enforceable in court, are a moral compass for governance. Aman brought them to life. Article 39A, equal justice and free legal aid. The villagers learned how to get help and a poor farmer saved his land. Article 40, village panchayats as self-government. Women participated in Gram Sabha meetings and won a new hand pump. Article 43, living wage for workers. Aman campaigned for fair wages. Article 45, early childhood care. He started a community creche. Article 48A, protection of the environment. The village planted trees. Aryavata was transforming, shaped by the Constitution's ideals. The directive principles inspired real change. The village became a model of justice and self-governance. The Constitution was not just law, it was a vision for society. Aman's lessons turned ideals into action. The village was living the spirit of the Constitution. Aman realized his work was incomplete without teaching responsibilities. Article 51A, the fundamental duties. The Constitution gives us rights, but also asks us to be good citizens. Aman made each duty a mission: respect the Constitution, the flag, and the anthem. The school assembly began with the national anthem, sung with pride. A Know Your Constitution club discussed justice, liberty, and equality. During festivals, students promoted harmony and brotherhood. When conflict arose, students reminded elders of their duty to promote peace. The duty to protect the environment became a village movement: tree planting, cleaning streets, caring for animals. Students maintained public property, taking pride in their school and community hall. They were not just citizens, they were custodians of their nation. The fundamental duties became a way of life. Aman's students lived their pledge every day. The village was united by responsibility. Aryavata was transformed, not by wealth, but by spirit. Aman showed that the Constitution was a living presence in daily life. It was in equal access to the well, in peaceful protest, in free legal aid, in respect for all faiths. Rights and duties are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. To demand equality, treat others as equals. To enjoy freedom, do not spread hatred. To benefit from resources, protect public property and the environment. This balance is the key to true democracy. Democracy is not a spectator sport. It is lived by the people, for the people. The Constitution provides the rules, but we must play the game with fairness and responsibility. The nation's strength lies in the character of its citizens. The story of Aman and Aryabhata is India's promise. Be vigilant, be aware, know your rights, honor your duties. The Constitution is our compass, pointing to justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. But a compass only shows the way. We must walk the path. We must live the Constitution every day. Only then can we build the India of our dreams. Be aware, be safe, be a true citizen. The future is in our hands. Jai Hind.